I am relentless as hell. I do not give up. So when there's something that I want, no matter how long it takes, no matter how many obstacles I seem to face, I am like a dog with a bone.
You're listening to Thrive by Design, business, marketing, and lifestyle strategies for your jewelry brand to flourish and thrive. Let's get started.
Well, I'm very excited to announce a very special guest to the Thrive by Design show. Today, I have on Marie Forleo, my mentor and business guru galore. I am so excited to have you on the show today, Marie.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here, Tracy. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, as always, I love having you on the show for a multitude of reasons. You've made such a huge impact in my life and not only the growth of my business, but helping me overcome business failure and sort of reaching my full potential. So the members of our community over here at Flourish and Thrive and the listeners of Thrive by Design always love it when I bring you on the show. So I couldn't resist bringing you back because your great program, B-School, is coming up. And we wanted to talk not only about that, but some of the things some business advice from you. So I thought we'd do something fun today if you're up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Always
okay,
fun.
I thought we'd just do like a little Q&A from the audience, if that sounds cool.
Oh, hell yes. I love nothing more than some Q&A.
So before we dive in, I'd love to know what's going on that's fun in your life right now.
So for me, I am completely obsessed with writing a book. It was something that was on my list for a while that, those things that show up in your journals and, your goal list that you're like, you know what? Not yet. Not yet. It kind of hangs out in the background for a little bit. Well, last year was the year that something in me said, this is the year you must go out there and pitch and sell a book. And so I did that. So now I am in the writing phase of that book.
Oh my gosh.
Besides B-School, which again, we'll talk about and I love as my heart and soul, the entire rest of my creative life has been consumed with writing. And even though I write all the time, because I write everything for our business, it's a different kind of writing, long form, thinking through a very big arc. And so it's new and it's a challenge and it's going to happen.
Well, I know that I am really excited for the book to come out. I don't even know what it's about and I'm excited for it. I know that you're going to have a lot of fans picking up that book as soon as you release it. Do you know a release date yet?
Thank you. It's going to be in 2019. Okay. So, but my manuscript is due in a few months, but I think it'll be spring of 2019, but I will definitely keep you posted.
Oh, it's so exciting. Okay. I have one more question for you just for fun. So as we're recording this, the Golden Globes just happened.
Yes.
And I know that you were named a thought leader by Oprah and you have been participated in our Super Soul Sundays. And I know you're really involved with Oprah's network. So what do you think about Oprah's speech?
I cried. I loved it so much. I watched it several times. I just have so much love and admiration for that woman, for who she is, for what she's given to so many of us, and for how she just continues to elevate everyone around her and set such an example for what's possible. I don't know many people who didn't watch that speech and who didn't feel moved. I even saw some comments online from folks who are like, I'm not the biggest Oprah fan, but they were really, really sharing some love. So I thought it was just extraordinary.
You know what? I'm always blown away by Oprah in how eloquently she can approach a subject. And she just looks so calm and collected and she has all of her thoughts together. And it's just like a piece of cake. And then she just brings people to their knees. It's crazy.
She has, a really deep presence. And there is a groundedness in who she is and how she moves through the world that is palpable. You can feel it when you're with her. And obviously you can experience that by just watching, for example, that speech. But there is a magic in her presence that is so rooted in something beyond herself. And she's so connected to that. It's magnetic.
It's awesome. It's so cool. So one more question for you.
Yeah.
Where in the world is Marie right now?
I am in Venice, California.
Nice.
Yeah. Sunny.
I feel like you're always there in the winter, right?
I am. Well, it took me quite some time. This wasn't always my life. There was many, many, many. In fact, the vast majority of my life, I've been on the East Coast, and I've done that. I've done cold winters. I've been there, and I had enough. So when I could be this flexible and be out here in the sunshine, I was like, it's good for my mental health and it's good for my physical health. So I'm happily in California right now.
Amazing. Amazing. All right. So let's dive into some of these questions.
Sure.
So Dawn, just a little bit of background. I posed some questions in our Diamond Insiders community to the members of our community. I just said like, hey, I'm interviewing Marie. What do you want to know from her? We got some really great questions. So I'm excited to just kind of pick your brain and have fun with this. So the first one comes from Dawn. Dawn says, do you think posting on social media should be more about the person or your brand or selling your product? Sometimes I think the product is oversold and we undersell ourselves.
I think Dawn's right on that, but I also want to add this as well. Where I would come from is think about posting for and to your customers. So what are their questions?
Yeah.
What are their hopes or their frustrations or their aspirations or their desires? So if you really think about your ideal customer, and then you can start to reverse engineer what you talk about. And that allows you to really serve them. So it could be information about your brand. It could be information about you. It could be inspiration in general or entertainment or something that's empathetic or compassionate or speaking to a particular world issue. I think you really want to get in the mindset of who is this person? What are they struggling with? What are they finding, perhaps enjoyable right now, or what do they want to hear more about? And how can I really light up their feed? I also think, though, it's very important to realize that generally speaking, if you want to sell, email often trumps social for selling. There was one study done by the Marketing Sherpa that found that up to 74% of people prefer promotions via email versus on social. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't promote on social, but again, really keep that in mind. Think about your audience first. And when you're crafting that social content, ask yourself, what's in this post for them? Why am I posting this? What do I really intend for my audience to feel or do or walk away with?
Absolutely. And I think it's important to have the right balance of all of these things, like behind the scenes of the brand, behind the scenes of you as a designer, more about, the product too, because people are actually curious. One of the things that I get from people who are not creative, in particular, the clients that I work with for my jewelry business, they're like, how do you come up with ideas? Like, I think like stuff like that can be really interesting to people. Or how do you get that finish on a piece of jewelry? Like those kinds of things pique curiosity and also become a platform for you to start a conversation about your brand and, start attracting people to actually inquire about what it is that you do.
Yes. Again, obviously, when we're talking, Tracy, in this context, we're going to be thinking a lot about jewelry, right? But I think that this is applicable really for any business owner. If you're thinking about this, you do need variety. And I love what you just shared, those behind the scenes, how something is made, why something is made, why you choose things. And I think in general, too, the creative process is something that almost everyone is interested in because we're all creative beings, but not that many people get to express it on a regular basis. I think in all of our audiences, no matter what you're selling, there are people out there who are kind of creativity starved. They're creativity anemic. And there's something in them that wants to experience that. And perhaps you can let them live vicariously through how you do what you do.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. And I just want to highlight the most important point that you said, which was that email trumps social. Let's remind always. And this is so important to remember because I think people are just like, no one's buying anything for my social media feed or they're not clicking through on my posts. Well, that's not necessarily why people are on social or why they're following you all the time. So do whatever you can to try to build your email list with previous customers, new customers, get some fresh blood in there and email people regularly. That's how you're going to sell more.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it even from our own habits, right? When I'm scrolling my social feeds, which I'm not on social media that much, but when I am, I'm looking for things that are either inspiring or informative or that make me feel a certain emotion, but I don't usually get that jazzed about a straight up promotion.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not like, ooh, I can't wait to like double like that or go share it with my friends. That's not going to happen.
So true.
Right? But
Oh my gosh.
think about this from your own point of view as well. Like, what do you engage with? And that's why, again, that's why we talk about this in e-school. And I know that you teach this as well. It's email. It's not dead. And anyone that tells you it is doesn't know what they're talking about.
I know. It's changing. You have to adapt, but definitely it's not dead. That's how, most sales are made. Also, it's interesting too, because a lot of the designers always say like, could I possibly be my ideal customer? Like, I feel like when I'm describing them, it's me. So this is a great opportunity for you to put yourself in the shoes of your ideal customer, because your ideal customer avatar is probably partially you anyway.
Absolutely. It's a version of you, without a doubt. There's some rare birds who build a whole business to serve a community that they have no relation to or identify with. Those people do exist, but they're more rare than, I would say, the opposite, which is a lot of us start our businesses because we want to do business with people like us who have sensibilities like us. No two people are the same, of course. We all have our unique experiences, but it's always nice when people that you're selling to, the people that are your customers in your community, share a value set, in a particular aesthetic. And that's what makes doing business fun. So if you think about what you respond to, that can often be a really good clue into how to make your marketing more effective.
Absolutely. So I want to move on to the next question, which is from Lori. I'm really struggling with my about page. Well, really more my brand story. When you feel like you aren't that interesting or don't have a major aha moment that propelled you to start your business, how do you connect with your customers? I hate writing and it's so hard to write about myself.
Oh my God, I love this question so much. So Lori, you have to get so many people think they're not interesting. Most people hate writing about ourselves. So you are so not alone. My suggestion, keep this simple. Do not overthink it. Just ask yourself, what gets you fired up about your business or your customers? Like, why do you do what you do? Just answer it in simple, plain language. Probably not the money. It's probably something else. I would encourage you to do some free writing, and don't be precious about this. You don't have to show it to anyone. Let yourself write anything that comes to your mind, even if it's not full sentences, even if you keep repeating yourself, you're like, la, 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 la. I would suggest that you do this by hand, not on a computer, because I think it accesses a different part of your brain and your consciousness. So here's a 2-word writing prompt that I learned from Danny Shapiro. You can start with the 2 words, I remember. So you might
love this exercise.
I remember when I first thought about starting this business, and then just keep going and see what comes out. And remember, your about page, it does not have to be long or involved. It can be 3 or 4 sentences about why you started the business, what you want your customers to know or feel about the product or service, and maybe a fun fact or 2 about you, something that just makes you human. And I will say this, Tracy, I hope it's okay. If anyone listening struggles with copy, you should go get your butt into the free writing class at thecopycure.com.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's free. You don't have to do anything. But for everyone listening, your about page doesn't have to be this long novella. Start off with a little sentence, I remember. Let yourself free write. Keep it short and simple. And don't let those thoughts that you're not interesting, you don't have a good story, you hate writing about yourself, stop you, because most of us don't think we're that interesting.
And I'll definitely post a link in the show notes to the Copy Cure so you guys can check it out. Is there a link to the free writing class as well?
Yeah, that's where it is. It's right at thecopycure.com. Yep.
Okay. Well, we'll get it to you. All right. Perfect. So Carmen asks, I saw an interview where Marie said it took 7 years to launch her business. I was awestruck with that, and she's done it. How do you stay committed when it's hard in the early days? What led you to not give up?
It's a great question. And yes, it's totally true. So what led me to not give up was a genuine desire and passion to make this my career. The truth is, I couldn't see myself doing anything else. I knew that this was my life's work. And I also knew it was going to take time, because everything that's worthwhile in life takes time. It often takes more time than we want it to. So for me, my mentality, it's always about the long game, Tracy. That's always what I'm thinking with anything that I say yes to, anything that I invest in, anything that I'm willing to devote my life energy to. I'm like, okay, what's the long game on this? I think the other piece of it, I am relentless as hell. I do not give up. So when there's something that I want, no matter how long it takes, no matter how many obstacles I seem to face, I am like a dog with a bone. Like you cannot get me to stop. So that quality, sometimes it causes me some pain and some other people in my life pain, but for better or worse, it is a part of who I am. And I honestly thought about the fact, like, do I really want to be doing something else? It's like, no, well, I can just keep bartending, or I can keep waiting tables, or I'll keep doing whatever it is I need to do to put food on the table and to have a roof over my head. And I was never really a person who was like, oh, I need to have, all these fancy clothes or fancy shoes. Like that was never interesting to me. What was interesting to me was doing something that I felt genuinely dedicated to. And this was it.
And you're committed, which is like the most important part of it. Like, I feel like if you can commit to yourself, like Marie committed to herself, I feel like I'm a committed person. I've really committed to building a business, even in the face of struggle. I've had a lot of struggle in my career, but I'd rather have that than ever have to go work for someone else again, to ever have to build someone else's dream. Like, it's that important to me. And I can tell, it's obvious to me that it's that important to you.
Yes.
I have another question for you based on this though. So I'm sure that times things have not gone your way. And, it seems like everything that you touch turns to gold, but I'm sure that that's not always the case.
No.
What happened? Like, how do you handle it when thing actually, like something that you plan, expect, you do like all your best due diligence to map it out and to get the desired result? Like, what do you do like in those rare times that it doesn't work out?
Yeah. So, stuff doesn't work out all the time. There are so many messes and so many, it's just like blow ups or fires. And it's like none of that stuff happens necessarily because people are incompetent or anyone's doing something nefarious. That's just like part of the game of life.
Yeah.
And so at this point, I come to expect it. Not expect it in that I'm looking for doom and gloom, but experience, when you have enough of that under your belt, that no matter how much you plan for something to go right, someone's going to get sick, something's going to break, just something's going to happen and it's not going to go as planned. So I do my best to keep a sense of humor about it. In terms of disappointment, we all have disappointments, and I let myself feel it. I let myself just go like, wow, this really sucks. So to really kind of digest and metabolize that as quickly as possible, to not be in denial. But I also will say this, in that same breath, I don't let myself wallow in it. I'll feel it if I need to go get some mashed potatoes, or I need to go get some macaroni and cheese and sit down and, watch a show or whatever I need to do to just be in it for a second, I'll do it. And then I'm like, okay, now it's time to move on.org. So I think that
now it's time to move on.org.
Yeah, it is. Because I think that's something that, for at least for me, it's worked. It's like you take your hits, you're going to get knocked down, you're going to get disappointed, you're going to make mistakes. You have to let yourself feel that stuff. But I think there's a big distinction between allowing yourself to feel it and metabolize it and say stuck in it. So mine is like, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And then it's like, well, now we've got more work to do.
That's awesome. Sometimes I hold on to things for a couple of days. I'm like, you got to shake this, get it off. It reminds, when you were saying that, it reminds me of that Chumbawamba song. What is that? I get knocked down.
I get knocked down.
And I get up again.
Exactly. And then
oh my gosh.
I want to say too, on that same note, I think that's really, really vital for everyone to remember, is to have perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like, some of our worst days are days that there's people in other parts of the world, they would kill to have that as their worst day.
I know.
So I think there, of course, again, it's a lot to be said for allowing yourself to feel the feelings when you feel them, but at the same time, to keep that larger picture in mind and to understand how blessed we really are, and the things that we can get upset about, and the things we can beat ourselves up over, and the things that we can feel like we're quote unquote a failure or a loser or nothing's working. If you pause and just look around you and go like, do I have food in the fridge? Yes. Do I have 2 legs and 2 arms? Is my heart beating? Am I able to still be mobile? Yes. Well, you know what? I got more than a lot of people in this world are. So I got no room to keep wallowing. It's like, you got to get back up and get into it.
That's such great perspective. Thank you for sharing that. So are you good to move on to the next question? Because I'm excited about this one.
Yes.
So Jamie says, oh my God, I love her. I'm a student of Marie's in the Copy Cure. She's super brilliant. How does she deal with the down days? I guess I just kind of asked you this. Everyone has a bad day. But I think the angle on this one is like, what are some of the rituals that actually you do to lift yourself up, to keep you motivated, positive direction? And you talked about eating mac and cheese, but is there anything else that you do in addition to that?
Yes. No, there are very tactical things and specific things that I do when I am in a place that feels dark, where I feel down, if I feel sadness, if I feel low, if I'm just, something's happening. One of my go-tos is exercise. I think that this should be the go-to for virtually everyone. So for me, that could look like taking a spin class. It could look like taking a dance class. It could look like just going to the gym or yoga or something where I can leave the torture chamber of my mind and drop down into the sanity and the reality of my body. That is like clearing the cache pretty much instantly. Besides the chemicals that your body produces, which are very real and very effective in terms of the endorphins and everything that happens when you oxygenate your body and how differently you feel, I think that there's so much wisdom that lives below the neck. And sadly, our culture has trained us. All we're doing is we got our heads down looking in our damn phones, 6, 9 hours a day. So I think exercise for me, and I would recommend it for everyone, is a ritual that you can use, and you should use it pretty much daily to keep yourself in check, but you must go there the moment that you find yourself in a dark place. Meditation, another one, doesn't have to take 20 or 30 minutes. You can do it in 5 or 10. I often meditate for 10 minutes, sometimes 15 a day, more depending on what's happening. Super easy. You don't need to have some special, meditation altar space. You can do it on the couch. I've done it in taxis. I've done it on subways. Really easy. Also, Tracy, if anyone's like, oh, I'm kind of open to meditation, who hasn't been before, we have a free meditation on the website. It's just a totally free download. If you Google search Marie Forleo's meditation and you want to try mine, it's nothing crazy, but it works. Another ritual, again, depending on what's happening, talking, having a conversation with someone that I trust and I respect and who I value their opinion and who I know is going to listen to me fully. Oftentimes, if I'm in a tough place or I'm struggling with a dilemma, just having a conversation with someone I trust can bring me clarity. And then I would say, tagging off what we just said, gratitude and reality checks. I do my best to let myself get too far down any rabbit hole without doing a really important kind of perspective and reality check. Water coming out of my faucet, check. Check. Food, check. I need to shut the fuck up.
I love it. Oh my gosh. But I love your philosophy because I'm right there with you. I call exercise mental health. Yes. And I think you know this, but I used to teach yoga for a long time. And so I'm huge meditation fan. I try to meditate. I can't say I meditate every day anymore. I've gotten a little bit off my habit, but I really try to meditate multiple times a week whenever I can find space, depending on when I'm working out in the morning. But it also has created for me a really strong framework for my day because I know the actual structure of what's going to happen. And I think that's helpful not only for entrepreneurs, but in particular, super creative people who their job is to come up with creativity and ideas. That's what their business is all about. It helps create structure in your morning and frame the structure for the rest of your day. But you could also do it in the evening. It would do the same thing.
Yeah. And I think the other important thing, speaking about creatives, if anyone listening ever starts to feel themselves as though the well is running dry, or they feel like they're running out of ideas and they don't know where they're going to get their next one from, one of the other really great byproducts in my experience from meditation is plugging into that collective consciousness. It's really taking the time to remember and to intentionally connect with that which is greater than me. And it doesn't matter if you're religious or spiritual. I think there is, something we can all agree beyond ourselves that's intelligent. And meditation is a really great way to tap into that.
Absolutely. And breathing, just the practice of the breathing part of the meditation, it's almost like exercise light in a way because you're breathing in and breathing out. And I remember talking to someone a while back who said the thing that they missed the most about smoking cigarettes, this is so random, was the inhale and exhale part of it because it helps calm you down, that practice of breathing in and breathing out. That's so random. But meditation can be kind of like that. You know, you're doing this like meditative, like in and out, helping to oxygenate your blood, keep your brain focused, release all the negative thoughts. It's just, I don't know. I can't say enough about it. So,
Me too. Yep.
all right, cool. So Tracy asks, what are the must-haves to turn a website into a retail experience? Or maybe what are some tips to create a brand experience for retail buyers, people coming to your store who want to actually buy online?
Yeah. I think it's a lot about reverse engineering. What do you want people to feel? What do you want people to think? What do you want people to imagine? How do you want people to walk out, quote unquote, of your online experience? What would they say to their friends? And I think if you start with the end in mind, right, then you can start to build in elements that will accomplish that desired outcome. So for example, on our site, for me, one of the things that's really important is for people to feel surprise and delight, for them to feel as though that there are Easter egg moments, or they discover things they didn't know were there, or they have little chuckles or laughs or kind of unexpected surprises. And if you go to marieforleo.com and you hover on our logo in certain places, it will shoot out different messages. Not a lot of people know that. Yes.
And, I'm going to go stalk your website now.
Yeah. So there's different things that we do in different places to create these Easter egg moments, because the experience that I want to create is surprise and delight. So tips to creating a brand experience. Well, begin with the end in mind. Think about what you want your customer to feel. What do you want her to think? What do you want her to walk away saying? What would you like her to tell her friends? And then you can start to build in those elements to ideally help achieve that. So another concrete example, right? If you want someone to kind of associate this feeling of simplicity and openness and there being a lot of space and possibilities, well, you wouldn't want to have a website that's cluttered, so much crap on there that's hard to navigate. You'd want to think about simplicity in terms of your design and your navigation and your messaging. So I do think it's a really great opportunity for creatives. And I do think it really comes down to beginning with the end in mind.
Awesome. Yeah. I think that's a perfect example for someone who designs minimalist jewelry. And if you have there's this woman out there, I think her name is Katie, and she has a brand called Metal Marvels. And it's all about crass, curse words and all this stuff. And basically living life out loud. Her website is super busy, but that's part of the brand experience. You go there and you're like, whoa, life is living out loud right in front of my face kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that example you used.
So one note I want to add, in addition to taking the time to create this beautiful, engaging, emotional brand experience, we also want to be intelligent and smart about conversions, right? So you want to make sure that you're understanding your metrics. You want to understand how long people are staying on your site, which pages are converting, kind of all of the standard things that allow us to not only be really creative in our business efforts, but smart, intelligent, and strategic.
Exactly. Get those Google Analytics hooked up.
Yes.
Yesterday. Jess asks, it seems like for many people, email open rates are down. What are some of the most clever ways to make sure that your emails get opened and delivered?
Great question. So this is really about flexing those creative muscles with your subject lines. Subject lines are everything. So you have to try different things. First of all, you don't want your subject lines to ever be too long. I think people should try a variety of things. You can try things that are curiosity soaked, like, hey, did you see this? Or you can try things that are a bit more headliney, like how-tos or 7 ways or anything. Subject lines are really mini headlines. So when it comes to copywriting, you have to get headline consciousness. You have to really understand and pay attention to what makes people click. Now, of course, you never want to mislead. You don't want to create these wild and crazy subject lines that have absolutely nothing to do with the message inside. So there is an art and a science to this. But I would say experiment. I would also experiment with personalization. That's an underused strategy. You can't use it all the time because, again, anything you do all the time, it starts to create a pattern and people get bored and then they just dismiss it. But variety is key, and play with personalization. So use their first name, whether you start off with the first name or ask a question and then put a comma and then put their first name at the end. I would say the more you can keep changing things up in a way that's authentic to you, the better it is. And then if you're using email software like, for instance, MailChimp or any of the email service providers, experiment with A/B testing some different subject lines. That will really help you start to understand the types of headlines that your customers are most engaged with.
You know, something I did recently, and this was really interesting because we do this like as a practice for Flourish and Thrive, because we actually like are trying to understand like the new people coming onto our list. So we ask them a question in the first email that they get and ask them to reply. So I tried this with my New Year's email that I sent out this year to my jewelry list. And it was fun. I just said something along the lines of like, Happy New Year. Like, I'd love to hear what's going on in your life. Hit reply and send me a quick note. And it was so fun because all these people I hadn't heard from in a long time just started replying to my email and telling me what was up. So it was just cool, like different ways to get people engaged in opening your emails and reading them. Awesome. Oh, and the point of that, like I learned once that if you can get people to actually reply to an email coming from an email service provider, that it helps improve your deliverability rates. Have you heard that?
You know, I haven't, but it makes a whole lot of sense. It really does. And I would say that kind of speaks to building off of it, right? If you're not sending people a ton of crap, your deliverability should stay pretty good. But I actually love your strategy, Tracy. I think it's genius.
Well, thanks. Okay, so Jenny's asking, there's so many options out there to drive traffic to your site, but it seems like I'm trying everything, but nothing's really sticking. How do you decipher which platforms are best to post on? How long do you give a platform to start working before you give it up? I'm frustrated.
It's a really interesting question. So here's the thing. When you're thinking about driving traffic from a platform to your website, I think it's about being clear and specific about a particular campaign or like a post. Like, what are you driving them there for? If it's just like, wow, I could post images of my jewelry on Facebook, or I could post some images of my jewelry on Instagram or any other Pinterest, whatever it is. Are you driving them to an opt-in page that maybe offers 10% off of their first order? I think from what I'm hearing from this question, and I may not have enough information to give a strategic and tactical enough answer, and I apologize for that, but I would say the most effective thing that any of us can do if you're trying to drive traffic back to your site is to, again, think about what is the end goal for this. We all know that 9 times out of 10, someone's not going to buy on their first visit to your site. So you want to capture their name and email address. So, okay, if we know that's our objective, well, can we design a really good incentive to get them off of that platform and to your website to opt in? So I know that's not a complete answer, and Tracy, feel free to flesh this out more if you see more of it, but it's less about figuring out what platforms are best to post on. That's about knowing your demographic, right? So understanding that generally speaking, the demo in Facebook is going to be a little bit older, that Instagram is going to skew a little bit younger, and that Snapchat is going to skew even younger than that. So I don't know who your ideal customer avatar is, but if you know the general age range, then you know kind of what platform could be best where they're hanging out. But then beyond that platform, it's really about having smart copy, a really compelling offer, and giving people a reason to get off that platform, a really good reason, and to go take the action you want them to take.
You know, it's interesting because there's this one ad, I was sharing it with one of our group coaching programs, and it's a shoe designer, Tamara Mellon.
Yes.
I keep getting served ads. Have you seen these? They're so good.
What do you like about them?
Well, I love the video because it's super clean and there's not a lot of stuff going on. It's just really focused on the shoes and like the little sweep of whatever outfit that the model is wearing. But the thing that I love the most are like, it's like really quick, short copy. I think I might be getting this confused with another brand, but I think it said something, these boots are back after selling out last week or something like that. And it got me to just like click on that. And this is sort of like, I think they've done such a good job because when I clicked on that link, I was sent directly to the shoes that were in the ad. I wasn't sent to a home page or some random page or even the shop page. It was just the shoe. And it got me looking at the product that they were actually featuring. And I think one of the mistakes that designers make or people make who in jewelry businesses or product-based businesses is they don't play the long game. You were mentioning this earlier, something about the long game. But they're not playing the long game, and ad strategy sometimes is the long game because to get conversions on your site, it's used typically 1% conversion if you're getting a good conversion on your site. So that means for every 100 people who show up, one person will buy. But it's also being strategic on how you're getting them to your site and what you're sending them to. Because if you're just sending them to no man's land, then they're not going to do anything.
Exactly.
It's a waste of money.
Yep.
And time.
So that's why it's like we have to really back out here and go, what are we doing on these platforms and why? What is our end result? And how do we really be intelligent and smart and create that through line from platform to platform?
And I know that ads, require spending money, but I wouldn't advise anyone to ever, and I'm sure you would say the same, anyone to ever spend money on ads until they had like some sort of funnel or sequence set up where they're curating the customer's experience straight from the ad.
120%. 120%. I think that's the thing that makes me cry the most is when people are like, I'm spending X amount of money on Facebook ads or Instagram ads or whatever it is. I'm like, well, where are you sending them? To my site. I'm like, for what reason? Because I want you. And it's like, whoa, I just want to, cry. Your advice is spot on.
Real quick, Tom says, what are some of your favorite independent brands to shop from? And why are you drawn to those brands?
Yes. Okay. So this question, I have to say, I'm going to be a disappointer here. I'm not an avid shopper. So this one is a little hard to answer. I can't provide much value, but I will share this, that when I'm walking around, for example, here in Venice.
Great place to shop.
Yes. I'm drawn to things that are tangible because I'm in person. So this might not make much sense online. But I like, when I'm looking at candles, that's something I buy a lot of. I'm always buying candles. And how it's put together, the packaging. Can I envision this sitting in my home? What are the materials that people are using? And I think those attention to details, I can tell instantly. And it's, something that you feel, right? It's like, God, that label is slapped on. And I'm like, I don't want that sitting in my home.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel elegant enough. It doesn't feel special or meaningful enough. So I'm sorry, I don't have more to offer on that. But I think, when it comes to an independent brand, it's you want to let your personality shine through.
Yeah.
You want to actually toot the horn of the fact that you are independent. So if there's only one or two of you and it's very artisanal, say that. Don't hide and try and say, we're a company and try to appear bigger than you are. I think that authenticity and transparency is really important.
Absolutely. Okay. Last question. In the mood of thinking outside of the box for exposure, what are your best tips for connecting your jewelry or products to high-profile individuals or entrepreneurs? How would someone like you like to be approached? Hypothetically, of course.
It's a great question. So we have to remember that it's really a numbers game. That's all business all the time. So if I were you, Lena, here's what I would do. These are the exact strategies I'd map out. First, I'd make a list of the high profile people that I genuinely admire based on observing them, based on what I know about their work, people that I thought would or could actually like my jewelry. We all know this, right, Tracy? When we're looking at someone, you can maybe like someone and think they're wonderful, but when you know that your style and their style is just like universes apart, you can't force something.
Yeah.
So Lena, I would make a list of 10 to 20 people max, have that list very clear and written down. So once you have that list, make a Google Doc, you can make a spreadsheet, whatever works for you. And you want to write down their birthday, any news on them, whatever you can gather based on their social feeds and the research that you do. Step number 3, make it a point to engage with each of them 2 minutes a day. So you can leave a comment, you can repost something that they posted, do something to engage with their brand. Now, we don't want to stalk here and we don't want to be weird. We want to be cool, real, and just open about what you appreciate about them or their work. If you did this for 10 people, that's a fantastic use of 20 to 30 minutes of your day. Now, when you see something big coming up, right, like an event or a birthday or some legitimate occasion, offer to send them something for free or let them choose something from your site. Now, here's the really important thing though. You have to make it clear that you are not trying to get them to post about you. If they do, that's fantastic, but genuinely, you cannot expect anything in return. You've got to be in this for the long haul. This needs to be about long-term relationship building. High-profile people are people. They are usually happy to gush about things that they genuinely like from, here's the key, people who don't expect anything in return.
Yeah.
And having been on the receiving end of things like this, I can always tell when people offer things and they're like genuinely into who I am and what I do. And they're like, look, if she posts about it, awesome. If she doesn't, that's cool. But we really just want you to have this, versus I can feel the transactional nature of someone else who's like trying to bait me. And it's a very, very different experience.
Thank you so much. That's such great insight. Thanks. And I totally agree with you. I think that's just the best strategy. And I like your idea of just creating a Google Doc for each of them. You can almost like document how you're connecting with them. And
exactly.
So you remember.
Yeah.
Such a great idea.
Notes. And people are so open these days about sharing what's happening. You can set up Google alerts so you can see news on what's going on in their life or for their business, and then surprise and delight them. Again, if you make this fun and you don't have an air of desperation, it really is about the joy of sharing the beautiful creations that you make with someone that you genuinely admire. One or multiple of them will be a hit and will likely be happy to share your things. But again, you can't go into it with that kind of thirst. You got to really do it from the right place.
I love that. All right. So that was amazing. Thank you so much for those thoughtful answers to our community questions. I could keep asking you, but I know we're on a little bit of a time frame here. So I would love for you to tell us a little bit about the training series that you have going on.
Oh, yes. So B School, for anyone who's unfamiliar with B School, although I know Tracy will give you the full scoop.
I will.
Online business school for modern entrepreneurs. So if you want to start or grow a business and you're in this place where, gosh, there are so many ideas I have, but I need structure and I need guidance and I need support to follow through, then B School, including our free training series, which is up now, you will absolutely enjoy this. So there are it's like basically a 3-part video workshop. The first video is all about the 6 pillars of running an online business. And it doesn't matter whether you are a product-based business like jewelry, service-based. These are the 6 pillars that are consistent across no matter what you want to do. You need to pay attention to these 6 pieces. And what we do in that video is break down what you should pay attention to, why it matters, and then you'll have an ability to kind of assess yourself where you're at, so then you can start taking notes and taking action right away. The second video in the series is one of my favorites. I talk about some of my favorite marketing strategies, and most importantly, if anyone listening right now has any kind of resistance to marketing and selling, if any part of you says, oh, I just want to do the creation in my business, can't somebody else handle that for me? Or, can't somebody else just figure this out? I really don't want to market, or I feel slimy, or I feel aggressive, or I feel like I'm being pushy, or I'm annoying people. For the love of all things holy, please make sure you watch video number 2 in the series. I guarantee it will forever shift your mindset, which will give you an ability to get results beyond anything you can now imagine. And then video number 3 in the series is really fun. I think all of us, no matter who we are, how experienced we are, how long we've been doing what we're doing, we can all bump up against certain excuses that hold us back, excuses that limit what's possible for us to share and achieve and create. And so we kind of break down all those excuses and give you an opportunity to step more into the power and the brilliance and the creativity that you already have inside. And plus, there are some great stories that I think really inspire people to see what's possible when you kind of take that limit off of what you can achieve. So the 3-part video series is free. So why not take advantage of it?
It's amazing. And I've been through Marie's video series like no less than probably 8 or 9 times. And as a graduate of B School, like Flourish and Thrive Academy honestly would not be here without B School, because it was learning some of these online techniques from Marie that really were sort of the impetus and the catalyst that helped me go from having closing my business, having $2,000 in sales, and then within 18 months, taking what I learned from Marie and having my first month of $30,000 worth of profits in my jewelry business. And this was like after a complete business belly flop, after going from $1 million of sales back down to 0. And I can honestly say that I am so much happier now having the business model that I've set up for myself, having the ability to work part-time in my jewelry business while still making full-time income. And all of it is stuff that I learned from Marie. So I highly recommend, in the very least, that you take the video series. I even more highly recommend that you join B School, because it is, I can't even say like a life-changing program. It like honestly like was, do you know, like in life, Marie, you probably had this too, where you have like, like we all have ups and downs. Like there's high points and low points. Like
Yes.
It was the thing that sort of like put me over the edge to get me to the next level of who I'm supposed to be as a human being and an entrepreneur and a business person. And I'm so grateful to you I'm actually like so grateful that I opened Kate Northrup's email and found out about you all those years ago. When I knew nothing about this online world.
You are incredible in what you've created and what you've done. All the credit goes to you. I'm thrilled that we could play a small part in your journey, but you are just an amazing human. You're an amazing creative, an amazing business person. And it's just a joy to watch what you have created and what you continue to create and how you are able to impact and help so many other business owners grow. So congratulations to you.
Oh, thanks, Marie. Thank you so much for being here today. This was awesome.
Yay. I loved it. And yes, for anyone listening, come see us, come visit us at the B-School Free Training Series. You will learn so much. And of course, we'd love you to take the program if it's the right fit for you. But even if not, you're going to walk away with so much value and have a whole game plan to take your business to the next level.
Awesome. Everyone, take care.